2,000 years ago, in the dead of night, a series of events began in a garden outside Jerusalem. For billions of people, these 24 hours represent the dividing line between the world as it was and everything that followed. Look at this wide view of ancient Jerusalem. This was the physical world of Jesus of Nazareth. Roman historians like Tacitus and Josephus documented him as a real, flesh-and-blood Jewish teacher from Galilee who ignited a movement that the Roman Empire could not contain, despite his lack of wealth or an army. He walked dusty roads, touched lepers that society had banished, and sat directly with outcasts. In 3 years of public ministry, his actions upended the strict power structures of the era. On this particular Thursday night, he stayed his course, even as the political and religious pressure around him reached a breaking point. He moved toward the center of Jerusalem, appearing to anticipate the gravity of the hours ahead. The night began with Passover. This was the most sacred meal in Jewish tradition, a night defining liberation from slavery and the physical sacrifice of a lamb. Jesus gathered his 12 closest disciples in a rented upper room. During this last meal, he took off his outer robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. He then got on his knees to wash the dirty, calloused feet of his followers. In the ancient world, physical servitude was reserved for the lowest class of society. By taking the posture of a servant, he redefined the concept of authority, demonstrating that greatness required a willingness to serve others. Every action in this room was deliberate. He was choreographing his own final hours. This image shows the ancient olive trees of a garden called Gethsemane. In Hebrew, Gethsemane translates to the olive press, the heavy stone mechanism where olives are crushed under immense weight to extract their oil. It was here that his psychological state began to fracture. The Gospel of Luke was written by a physician who recorded that while Jesus was praying, his sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. This diagram shows the mechanics of a verified medical condition called hematorosis. It occurs when extreme psychological terror causes capillary blood vessels to rupture into the sweat glands. The physical stress of the coming hours was so severe that his body began to bleed through his skin. He prayed for an alternative path, asking if the cup could pass from him. Theologians refer to this as the mystery of the incarnation, the point where his divine claims met his terrifying human vulnerability. At the peak of this agony, he lifted his head and accepted his fate, saying, "Not my will, but yours." This was an active choice. The arrest in the garden followed immediately, led by a man he had called a friend. Judas Iscariot betrayed him for a transactional price of exactly 30 pieces of silver, shown here on this ancient coin. The subsequent trial before the Sanhedrin broke the established rules of their own justice system. It was held at night, relied on contradicting witnesses, and bypassed the mandatory waiting period. This is the Pilate stone, confirming the existence of the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. While Pilate was a ruthless official, he declared Jesus innocent 3 separate times before surrendering to mob pressure and handing him over to be killed. Before he reached the execution site, Jesus endured Roman flogging with a whip designed to tear flesh. He was then forced to carry a wooden crossbeam weighing up to 125 pounds through these narrow Jerusalem streets. This schematic shows the archaeological reality of crucifixion. Iron nails were driven through the wrists, not the palms. The wrist bones create a structural lock capable of supporting a human body, whereas palm flesh would simply tear under the weight. Death by crucifixion is caused by asphyxiation. As the body sinks, the chest cavity is compressed, making it impossible to exhale. To draw a breath, the victim pushed their entire weight up against the iron nails. Amidst this suffocating torture, his first physical exertion, pushing up just to force air into his lungs, was used to speak forgiveness over the people executing him. At 3 in the afternoon, both biblical and secular Roman historians document that darkness covered the region for 3 hours. This ancient Hebrew manuscript contains Psalm 22. From the cross, Jesus quoted this text, which describes the mechanics of crucifixion in detail nearly 1,000 years before the Roman Empire adopted the practice. After 6 hours of hanging, a victim lacks the lung capacity to whisper, yet Jesus spoke one last time with a powerful voice. His final word was tetelestai. In the ancient Greek commercial world, merchants stamped this on documents to mean the debt is paid in full. That single word transforms the event from a Roman execution into a completed rescue mission. You are left to decide what to do with a historical figure who behaves this way in the face of suffering. This is a portrait of C.S. Lewis. He argued that a man making these claims and fulfilling these acts must be either Lord, a liar, or a lunatic. The evidence does not support the idea of him being merely a good teacher. He moved through Gethsemane and toward the cross so that no one would have to face their own darkest moments alone. The worst 24 hours in history were chosen for you, ensuring that your story does not have to end in defeat.